Good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Smriti Krishnan, take great pleasure in welcoming each and every one of you to the inaugural ceremony of the 12th Nani Palkhivala Memorial Tax Moot Court Competition. I now invite Mr. Prasanna Sundar to invoke the Almighty's blessings.
मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजेत्रीं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजेत्रीं आत्मदेव परानपि पश्यत आत्मदेव परानपि पश्यत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत त्यजत परेष्वक्रममाक्रमणं त्यजत परेष्वक्रममाक्रमणं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजेत्रीं जननी पृथिवी कामदुःखास्ते जननी पृथ्वी कामदुःखास्ते जनको देवः सकल दयाळु जनको देवः सकल दयाळु धान्यत धाता दयत्वं जनता धान्यत धाता दयत्वं जनता श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां.
I now call upon Ms. Varsha Chandrasekhar to welcome the gathering.
My humble pranams to everyone present here. It all started on February 4th, 2016 when the Moot proposition was released. As you all know, the problem set by Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan attorneys deals with few of the most challenging issues in tax regime today. Out of all the teams that had sent their memorials, SASTRA University has the pleasure to host the best 16 teams. And for you, we have planned the most intellectually enriching 3 days. To that end, we will have Shri Gurumurthy, Shri Nani and Shri Arvind Datar addressing us. I, Varsha Chandrasekhar, take immense pleasure and honor in welcoming our first speaker of Nani Palkhivala Memorial Lecture, our one and only Shri Gurumurthy, our respected Vice Chancellor, Professor R. Sethuraman, Dean of Planning and Development, Dr. S. Subramaniam, our Registrar, Professor G. Balachandran, our beloved Head of Department, Dr. P. Ravishekara Raju, the participants from various parts of the country, deans and professors from other departments of the university, Shri M.R. Venkatesh, auditor from Chennai, President and Secretary of Tanjavur Bar, special invitees and professors and my fellow students to the 12th Nani Palkhivala Taxation Moot Court Competition 2016. I look around the stage and I'm in awe of the collective expertise gathered here. Shri Gurumurthy, our mentor, guide, and guru, has been part of the SASTRA family since its inception. A multifaceted personality, he is chartered accountant by profession, journalist by passion, but more than anything, a thought leader. He is the person behind the legal anthropology cell, which has played an integral part in the growth process of School of Law. He will be addressing us on the topic Legonomics of Black Money. His expertise on this topic is well known. He is a part of the task force appointed by government to assess the black money deposited in foreign banks. We've had the advantage of reading his thought-provoking articles published in many national dailies on black money. And he has been a fearless crusader against corruption, black money, and other tax evasions. The Nani Palkhivala tradition deserves no less. We are deeply honored to welcome you, sir. On behalf of School of Law, SASTRA University, I would like to wish all the participants the best of luck and hope they have an enriching experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Varsha. I now request our head of the department, Dr. P. Ravishekar Raju, to present the memento to our distinguished chief guest, Shri S. Gurumurthy.
Actually, sorry for the interjection. Before we proceed with the inaugural function, I thought I will also lay down a very, very brief context that will be an ideal backdrop for this inaugural function of the 12th Nani Palkhivala Memorial Taxation Moot. My name is S. Subramaniam. I am the Dean Planning and Development here. But what I wanted to share with you that can be the ideal backdrop is something that the speaker for this evening himself shared many years back on this stage, and the learning that I got still remains so fresh in my memory, and I thought I must definitely share that experience with this new and young audience that's gathered from many different law schools in the country in addition to my own students here. You see, before we actually thought to choose the right person to deliver this inaugural lecture on a topic that deals with black money, something that struck us so profoundly is to invite somebody who can talk because of a conviction that he has on this particular topic. And there was no second choice. The one and only name that came to us was Mr. S. Gurumurthy. And the experience that he shared with us many years back was the experience that he had with Mr. Nani Palkhivala himself during his formative stages of his career. I think that must be around 35, 40 years back when he was deeply engaged in a boardroom discussion with some of the best minds at that times that dealt with income tax law, chartered accountants, very successful chartered accountants, in the presence of his mentor, Mr. Ramnath Goenka. And it was in that discussion that Mr. S. Gurumurthy felt that he had a different interpretation to an opinion that Mr. Nani Palkhivala gave. And he in that meeting said that he has a different opinion. And everybody wanted to know what it was, and he explained the members of the meeting, and they were convinced. But the issue did not stop there. The question was, who will go to Mr. Nani Palkhivala and tell him that there is a different interpretation to this issue that was dealing with income tax law? Then Mr. Ramnath Goenka pointed out to Mr. S. Gurumurthy and said that we have, reserve the applause, there's something more. He said, we have Mr. S. Gurumurthy here. He is aged 27. And you know, the gathering here is so experienced that nobody will risk their reputation to go and meet Mr. Nani Palkhivala and tell him that there is a different way of his interpretation. And we have a captive scapegoat here who is only 27, and if he goes and meets Mr. Nani Palkhivala, even if he humiliates, which he will not, even if he humiliates, it's going to be a 27-year young chartered accountant who will go and meet Mr. Nani Palkhivala. At least he gets a chance to meet Mr. Nani Palkhivala. And that's how the first meeting with Mr. Nani Palkhivala happened. And before he could reach there, Mr. Ramnath Goenka calls up Mr. Nani Palkhivala and tells him, I'm going to send somebody but don't be deceived by his height. He might look like a Vamana avatar getting into your room, but listen to what he says. And then he enters Mr. Nani's room and says that he has a different way of interpreting this, and he introduced an element of, I think, some constitutional principles in income tax law, about which I don't want to get into the technical details. But at the end of the discussion, so great the man Nani Palkhivala was. He said, Sir Gurumurthy, I am wrong, you are right. And that was the tall, visionary, legal, professional skills of Mr. Nani Palkhivala at that point of time to tell Mr. Gurumurthy that he is right and he is himself wrong. And that shows the person that Mr. Gurumurthy is. The biggest learning is that there are very few people in our country who will risk their reputation to speak the truth. And Mr. Gurumurthy belongs to that very rare breed of public intellectuals who will risk their reputation to speak the truth because they are convicted so much about the truth. There are many speakers here who will speak for the purpose of generating a captive applause. But here is a person who will at any day will risk his reputation to speak the truth because he is so convicted that what he says is something that is so truthful for a bigger cause that he is fighting for. And who better a person than Mr. S. Gurumurthy can be chosen for this particular topic on black money. And this lecture from him, I'm sure, will be an enlightening one because it's going to be a cocktail of sorts. And that's why the topic itself, somebody asked me whether this word legonomics is in the dictionary. I don't know, but assuming that it is not in the dictionary, black money is something that transcends different academic boundaries. And the two most important issues that you as students of law need to understand is how this mix of the legal issues of black money and the overriding economic issues of black money, both when get together, how big a powerful force that it is. And that is why the topic of the day, legonomics of black money, is so relevant, contemporary, and the speaker is also so fitting for this inaugural session of this 12th Nani Palkhivala Memorial Tax Moot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for introducing our esteemed speaker and giving a small insight on the topic. I would now like to invite Shri Gurumurthy, Vice Chancellor Professor R. Sethuraman and Head of the Department Dr. P. Ravishek Raju to light the Kuttuvalakku. I also request Kiran, Arun and Varsha to accompany them. May I now request our distinguished chief guest, Shri S. Gurumurthy, to deliver the inaugural address on the topic Legonomics of Black Money.
my good friend and the chancellor of this great institution with which I am always proud to be associated, Mr. Sethuraman, and Dr. Abhishekar Raju. Rarely there is a confluence of popularity and being a teacher. He is both popular and a teacher. Most teachers are unpopular, but I always found that he is probably one of the most popular teachers I have come across. And Shri Arun and Kumari Varsha Chandrasekhar and my good friend Mr. Vaidya Subramanyam, who introduced me in probably the most appropriate way because this institution is associated with Nani Palkhivala. See, when you get associated with great people, your mind is open to great ideas. Fortunately, at a very young age, I came in contact with such towering personalities that I have to take efforts to fail, not to be somebody who will have some qualities. Jayaprakash Narayan, Ramnath Goenka, Achyut Patwardhan, Moraji Desai, Nanaji Deshmukh. Such great people, I don't think they ever thought about themselves in their entire life. So, it is the ecosystem in which all of us grow that shapes us up. That we read, that we attend classes, that we even mug up a whole library is not going to shape up our ultimate personality. So I had the fortune of being in a great ecosystem, right from the great saint like the Kanchi Mahaswami to my training in the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, my friendship with these great and important people. So I had to imbibe the qualities which were demonstrably before me. It was not in any theory form. It was not in a lecture. It was not in a cassette. It was values that were lived, that I had a demonstrable form before me. So I must first thank all of them. And the topic of the day is not a topic of theoretical interest for me. It is not just a topic of an intellectual irritation. This is a topic with which I have lived since 1986. When I went to investigate a powerful industrial group and equally powerful politicians ruling this country about how they have been stashing away wealth abroad, it was in 1986 when I went to Switzerland. See, in those days now it is fairly easy to understand these things because things are more transparent. At the time in Panama, if you went and asked somebody if M.R. Venkatesh is a director in your company, then you would be arrested. For the single question, a person could be arrested in Panama. So that was the extent of secrecy that surrounded these global financial transactions. So when I went to Switzerland, of course I had gone with the credentials of a journalist and an advisor to a very important newspaper in India. So some of the information which I gathered was so astounding. The first information I gathered was about, curiously I asked them, what is likely to be the amount of money that the Indians should have stashed away in Switzerland? Because at that time Switzerland was probably the largest recipient of this funny money. Now there are many more jurisdictions, almost 60-70 jurisdictions are there, and you will know the largest single secret jurisdiction for money is not Switzerland, it's not Cayman Islands, it's not Channel Islands, it is the United States of America, which I will come to you later. Why the fight against black money is becoming so tough and difficult? Also I will explain. So in those days, black money had not become such a pervasive phenomenon. It was there. But become such a pervasive phenomenon as to shake and move the international financial market. It was stolen money and it had all the characteristics of stolen money. It did not have an open play. It could not come out openly to assert its power. That was the position at that time. Everyone, whether it was an American, whether it was a Britisher, whether it was a German or an Indian, everybody was trying to keep their money secret. Now only secret jurisdictions are used. Money is no more secret. This is the difference between 1980s and now. It was in 1980s I went there, and when I asked them out of sheer curiosity what is likely to be the amount of money which Indians would have stashed away in Switzerland, they said it is $300 billion. Huge money at that time. And from that time onwards, my mind was always around how to handle this issue. The problem has become 100 times bigger today. So, of course, this ultimately ended me in jail. On the 13th of March 1987, I was arrested because I was pursuing black money. And the person who arrested me was the Prime Minister of India. And the organization which arrested me was the CBI, which was supposed to pursue corrupt black money. And they arrested me who was pursuing black money. You can understand the contradiction involved. And the powers that you are fighting, when you are fighting with black money, Ram Jethmalani is going to be before you tomorrow. He is one of the persons with whom I have worked since 1986 in this. One of the most brilliant minds the world produced. At 91 it is still brilliant. I don't know how. It is still there, you will see him tomorrow. I always used to ask him when I pursued black money, I always felt it was such a kind of a pure pursuit that you can't be associated with wrong people, you can't take up wrong cases. For example, if somebody approaches me for a case, I will ask for 3 references. Somebody will have to recommend their case to me, somebody in whom I have confidence, otherwise I won't take up the cases. So I have maintained such a pure professional course. I always used to ask Ram Jethmalani, I am also called a crusader against black money and corruption. You accept everybody's brief, Haji Mastan, Dawood Ibrahim, everybody, you are also called a crusader against corruption. He used to tell me, this is my horoscope. You have to be pure to fight black money, I need not be pure to fight black money. So fighting black money requires enormous amount of conviction, purity, hardship. You must be willing to go to jail. It is true of not only me. It very nearly happened to 2 great government officials, one Borelal, who was the enforcement director at the time, and P.C. Pandey, one of the finest civil servants, absolutely clean, honest. Both of them were almost to go to jail along with me, simply because they tried to pursue black money. So pursuing black money is not an easy course. It's not a comfortable job. It's a very risky adventure. Keep this in mind, and I will take you through the contours of what the challenge is. It is not just legalism and economics. There is politics in it. There is market in it. There are international relationships in it. And there is competition to get black money. Every country is interested in other countries' black money. It wants to get other countries' black money to grow its own economy, but it doesn't want black money to be generated in its own territories. This is the contradiction. You have to understand all this before we have a mechanism or a structure or a strategy to fight black money. Black money is generally regarded as a tax evaded money in Western economies. Because it's a free economy, you can keep capital anywhere. An American can keep his money in India, in China, in any place. So he has to pay tax, that's all. But in our country it is not so, because our capital has to be here. So black money here, when it becomes global black money, capital moves away from India. So it is not just tax evaded money, it is also capital flight. In all developing countries, the capital moves away from those countries. It is part of the very attempt to escape tax. Escaping tax and movement of capital is identical in the case of developing economies. This is what we have to remember. In Western countries, it is merely a question of evading tax. Next thing, there are two dimensions to black money. One is the past stock. Whatever black money has been generated, there are varying estimates. For example, so far as India is concerned, till 1978, from 1948, they say about $480 billion, $483 billion or something has been shifted away from India, according to the Global Financial Integrity, which is an NGO working to expose black money transactions all over the world. Keep on publishing report. It is a free website, all of you can go into it. And in the latest report, they have published that between 2004 and 2013, the total amount of capital, also tax-evaded money that has moved out of the developing countries in this 9-year period, is $7.8 trillion. And China leads the pack with $1.4 trillion, money having moved away from China. Both the tax-evaded money as well as movement of capital. India ranks fourth after Russia, which is about $1 trillion, Mexico $530 billion. India is the fourth with $510 billion, which means we have been losing approximately $50 billion a year. This is the most important thing. You deal with the past transactions, that is one thing. That is going to be difficult. That has its own problems which I will explain to you. But how to stop the current flow, in that what are all the steps that is needed, and what we are doing, what we failed to do in the last 4-5 years after this became a big issue, is something which we will see as I am going beyond to explain this. There is conflicting interest between nations in regard to black money. I told you, we are interested in others' black money. That is why we have created what is called participatory notes. Participatory notes is something which permits you to invest in India without disclosing where from the money is coming. It is secret jurisdiction. Every country is interested in some kind of participatory notes. And you will be surprised to know that in the year 2008, cash deposits, I am not talking about shares, I am not talking about securities, cash deposit of what is known as offshore money, which is black money, was $12 trillion in the year 2008. And in the year 2009, it came down to $9 trillion. That is how the economic crisis in 2008 ate away a lot of black money. You know, out of this, nearly $4.8 trillion is invested in America. America is one of the most important secret jurisdictions. $2.2 trillion is invested in America by people from outside on the basis of the secrecy guaranteed by the United States of America, which is equal to the entire secret money deposits of Switzerland. Switzerland's total secret money deposited from all over the world in one country. And Switzerland doesn't use that money. It is only a funnel through which money passes to the other countries. America alone, directly $2.2 trillion, indirectly $1.55 trillion, UK $1.5 trillion. Totally top 50 banks in the world, which are supposed to be reputed banks, which are supervised by central banks, which are under regulatory authorities, which follow KYC norms, $9 trillion of black money they handle cash. It is not securities, it is not stocks, it is not other investment items, actual cash. So if America were to give up this black money, American economy will collapse. So America is interested in protecting this black money. England is interested in protecting this black money. All this received a huge setback in the year 2008 when the global economy was shaken by the global financial meltdown. And at that time they traced the whole movement of money, point not not 1% interest advantage is there in one company, one country means money from all other countries will go like a tsunami to that place. And from there, if some other jurisdiction offers 0.1-2%, then all the monies will move. This kind of movement of money has destabilized the global economy so much. In the year 2010, in the G20 meeting, Germany and France took a position that unless America is going to fight along with us the secret jurisdiction, we will walk out of the G20 meeting. That was the first step that was taken by the global, somebody responsible in the global community to say that these secret jurisdictions must give up their secrecy and they must be open to transparency, KYC norms, they must share information with other countries, and this was the starting point of the battle against black money at the global level. America was fighting to stop this. And in the G20 meeting, which happened in 2010 April in Toronto, finally America had to cave in to say that there should be transparency in global financial dealings. This is the first step. Why it is so important is that you cannot fight black money, you can fight to a limited extent, but you cannot fight in a successful manner unless there is global coordination, because money moves through a variety of ways. In rich countries, in developed countries, it moves officially. In other countries, it moves through Hawala channels and other channels, indirect methods. Anyway, unless there is global cooperation and coordination and transparency, fighting against black money or fighting to recover black money is more difficult. Even to fight the current outflow of black money will be very difficult, and so there has to be a global coordination, about which I will explain to you what is happening, what we are doing, what we failed to do, and what we have begun doing from 2014 October. As I told you, there is a shift in the global attitude and action taken after 2008, particularly from 2010. And the OECD countries, essentially the European Union, took important lead in generating a wide set of ideas, which are now begun manifesting in global regulatory mechanism, exchange of information. Automatically, every country is getting hooked to a particular computer model by which, without anybody's knowledge, without anybody's consent, without anybody stopping it, information will get exchanged. This is a very, very major development which is taking place. Very significantly, in 2010 Toronto meeting, when there was a huge upsurge against black money taking place, and with Germany and France leading it, the one country which got completely silent, with Dr. Manmohan Singh sitting there, he didn't even open his mouth. And there had become a big election issue here that meant that an announcement to the whole world: India is not interested in recovering black money. We are not interested in fighting black money. You didn't say it openly, but you were so silent. Your silence was so eloquent. It spoke more than what a lecture would have done. That a country, one of the worst affected country in black money issues, is keeping quiet when black money issue is being thundered in the Toronto meeting. This gave a very, very wrong impression about the government of India, that the government of India is not keen to fight black money. This is what we have to note in the context of what changes are taking place today and what are all the steps that are being taken. So it is a global challenge. Without a global effort, I'm not saying there should be no national effort, the national effort has to be supplemented by global effort, otherwise there is no question of black money transactions being fought concurrently and black money of the past being recovered. For both, we need a globally coordinated action. Second is, the national system has co-opted the past wrongs. I will explain to you with examples later how, if you ask the entire system to cooperate with you in concealing these things, suppressing these things, stopping the investigations, burning records, and if a new government comes, the very officers who did this will try to protect themselves and stop that the matter doesn't come out. At least in one case I will explain to you, a very serious case, as to how it is happening and what this government is trying to do to unearth. So in every way, when wrongdoers are in power and when they co-opt the officials into their wrongdoings, it becomes difficult to uncover the past wrongdoings of anybody, and that is one of the features of the fight against black money in India. And it is certainly a legal and constitutional issue. It is not a legal and constitutional issue in the sense of municipal laws of India. It is a legal and constitutional issue at the global level. For example, till 2011, tax evasion was not considered to be a cause for cooperation by Switzerland, because tax evasion is assumed to be normal at the global level. So unless there is some fraud, unless there is some crime, unless there is some human trafficking, even smuggling or excise evasion, income tax evasion, none of this is considered to be a cause for making Switzerland to cooperate with you. You must show some, it's a crime money. Taxation is not a crime. This was the position till 2011. Irrespective of your municipal law, the global law will not allow, will not compel, will not persuade Switzerland to cooperate with you. But once G20 took the position, tax evasion is a general crime, Switzerland was made to fall in line with that, and now tax evasion is considered to be a global offense. This is the most important development after 2010. That you can, and that also Switzerland made it prospective. You cannot say the past wrongs we will not uncover. Future, if there is anything, we will cooperate. That is the agreement we have signed. Of course, that is being breached now. It is a more deeper kind of incursion is taking place in the Swiss banking system. But the fact is that it is a legal issue, it is a constitutional issue, and it is a global legal issue. This is the most important thing. That simply because your laws say that this is the pursuit against black money, or this is the investigation against black money, or is the punishment against black money, this will not be accepted by the world unless there is a global legal architecture in which generally that is considered to be an offense. That is why the PMLA Act, that is the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, was passed. So it is a legal aspect of it. There is an economic aspect, there is a legal aspect, there is a global legal and financial aspect, and finally there is a political aspect. At all, the entire drive against the black money cannot come from law. It has to come from the political system. Unless the political system is so minded, unless it has the conviction, unless it has some cleanliness, it will never act. That is why most of the corruption cases in India fail, because there is mutuality of corruption, which we see in Tamil Nadu today. See, there is no choice between two parties because both are corrupt, and no one is going to act on the other beyond the point. It is a match-fixing fight against corruption. It has been a match-fixing fight against black money. And so the political aspect is very important. Unless there are people with strong conviction that money should be fought, there is no question of any of these working. And that is where I think my trust and confidence is that this government can probably deliver, about which I will explain to you a little later. But we must know some basic facts about the global financial architecture, which has very close nexus with creating black money. And it is done legally. Black money is not generated at the global level illegally. All the transactions are properly recorded, there are agreements, and there are parties identified, and everything is done through bank. Like in India, nobody gives cash. Everything is billions and trillions of dollars are transacted officially. There may be not only black money, there may even be crime money. It may be drug trafficking, it may be human trafficking, human organs trafficking. None of this is settled in cash. These are all settled officially in check through banking channels. So the fight against black money is fight against the institutions which do all this. They are all big names. UBS, Citibank, Standard Chartered, they are all great banks. These are all the 50 banks which are involved in storing $9 trillion in so many jurisdictions. And so this means, unless there is a strong political will to fight this, for example, Angela Merkel in Germany, and President Xi in China, and Narendra Modi here, these are all individuals, but they hold power. Unless a strong individual holds power, system cannot do anything. Every country the system is partly or wholly or mostly corrupted. It is only that individual who makes the difference. It was Sarkozy, then it is Xi, it is Abe, it is Narendra Modi. These are all individuals who show the determination to fight this huge financial architecture which gives a legal cover to wrong money. This we must understand. In India, black money means cash being given here and there. This is a local crime. This goes on. All of us know it. But the global financial architecture is designed on black money. It is not designed for black money. It is designed on black money. Now I will give you some few. In the 1997, the high net worth individual's wealth was $5.9 trillion in the year 1997. In the year 2014, it grew up almost 10 times to $55 trillion. In just 17 years, it grew up to $55 trillion. In this period, the global GDP went up by 1.5 times, from 30 trillions to 74 trillions. The global GDP rose by 1.5 times, but the high net worth individual's wealth went up by 9 times. And this high net worth individual's wealth is not wealth which is held through jurisdictions which are open. These are held through secret jurisdictions, and the estimate is $21 to $31 trillion is held through these secret jurisdictions where you cannot go and ask for any identity of the person who is the investor. There are variety of the Cayman Islands is there where there are bearer share companies. You know, all of you know companies. Companies are formed with the directors, with the registered shareholders, their addresses, and all of us know the way of forming the company. But in Cayman Islands, in Panama Islands, in British Virgin Islands, you can form companies which will have bearer share. Anyone who holds the shares will be it is like bearer check. And there are 2 million paper companies. 2 million. And half the registered ships, you know, shipping is a huge industry. Half the ships are registered with over 100,000 tons. There is a large ships are registered in the name of these paper companies. You can't even know who owns these ships finally. And they may carry, it is carrying British flag, it is carrying German flag, it is carrying this flag or that flag. Ultimately, who owns these ships? It is owned by companies whose identity is not known. It is accepted in the shipping industry. For the last 50 years, shipping industry is largely driven by black money. It is an unknown, illicit proportion of this unknown money is being investigated Boston Consulting says it is about $8 trillion, IMF says it is $15 trillion, the Tax Justice Network says $31 trillion, Goldman Sachs says $6 trillion. Now there is a broad understanding by one Henry report which says it can be anywhere between $21 to $31 trillion. This money changed in the course of the global financial markets in the year 2008. One thing that is happening in the world is if the market collapses, countries will collapse. That is not the case, fortunately, with India. For example, if New York Stock Exchange collapses, there will be no America. Because 60% of the American families have invested in stock market. 70% of the pension funds are invested in stock market. 65% of the health funds are invested in stock market. This was not the position in 1960 or 70 or even 80. This transformation has taken place in the last 30 years. That if something happens to the market, whatever happens to the market, that will happen to the country. In India, fortunately, that is not the case because only 3% of the Indian savings get into the stock market, and if the stock market collapses, Indians can write off the 3%, the foreigners have to write off their entire capital. So it is like IPL game. We build the stadium, others come and play. It is like our stock market is like that. We have built the stock market and the foreigners come and play. We have no loss or profit in it. That is not the case in other countries, most of the countries, except amongst the grown-up countries, it is only Germany and Japan who are like us. These two countries have not put their entire trust in market. In a way, France also. That is why they are fighting this black money, because these countries are not so dependent on the financial market. Any country which is dependent on the financial market, most of the Anglo-Saxon countries are against fight against black money, led by the United States of America, because America is the largest beneficiary of black money. Why America should benefit out of black money? Because America has been running trade deficit for the last, from 1976 to 2016, in this 40-year period. They have run current account deficit for 38 years. Economics says that if you continuously run trade deficit, your rupee should depreciate. The American dollar not only has not depreciated, it has grown up in value 3 times. You know why? It is not because of the strength of the dollar, it is because of the demand for a dollar. 2/3 of the dollar that is printed in America are circulating outside America. You know why? Because if non-Americans trade between themselves, they need dollar. If India has to transact business with Sri Lanka, it needs dollars. If China has to transact business with Taiwan, it needs dollars. So other countries for their own transactions have to have dollars, so dollar has become the working capital of the world. So America keeps on printing dollars, exporting dollars and importing goods. With the result, the American dollar demand has gone up, though the American value addition has not gone up in the world. This is a very important topic for students who are inclined to think in economic terms, economic students. And there was also a research done on how, in spite of running current account deficit so continuously for 40 years, American dollar has not come down in value. On the other hand, it has gone up by almost 3 times. So two Harvard economists researched and said, no, we should not apply the rules of economics. We should apply the rules of physics for dollar. You know what is the rule of physics? They said the whole universe is held together by a dark matter. No one knows what the dark matter is. Without the dark matter, the whole universe will collapse. The universe of finance will collapse if there is no America. America is the dark matter. So that is what is sustaining the dollar value. You can understand, a country which receives the largest amount of black money is a country which has borrowed the largest amount of money from the world. America is borrowing at least 2/3 of the global savings. Global savings includes black money also. And they are not only the most borrowed nations, they are borrowing at the rate of $2 trillion every year for their survival. And their borrowing has become their strength. Venkatramanan, who was the Reserve Bank governor, in the year 2000, he was the Reserve Bank governor previously, he wrote an article in the year 2004 in Business Line. He said how borrowing adds to your power. Let's assume a small scale industrialist goes and asks the bank, you give me 50 lakhs loan. The banker will harass him, you give me this stock statement, that statement, give me guarantee, collateral, you must come and meet me every week to explain all this. This poor fellow, he has to dance to the tunes of the bank. But if the same borrower has borrowed 10,000 crores from the bank chairman will go to the corporate office of the borrower, how is your business, is it all right? Because if something happens to his business, that will happen to the bank also. So what happens to the American economy will happen to the whole world today. This is through borrowing. That is why America is interested in maintaining this entire putrefied financial architecture which harbors black money. That is the biggest challenge that has come from the OECD countries, particularly led by the German and France, that black money can no more be accepted, and there is a big tussle going on, in which tussle we joined only in October 2014. Till then India was not even concerned with it. This is the single most important point which we must understand. Where we failed from 2010 to 2010 April Toronto conference to 2014 G20 conference, India never spoke up against black money or wanted cooperation. So everybody thought India was not interested in fighting black money. The first time this happened, about which I will come to it later. So basically, high net worth individuals' wealth went up by 9 times, whereas the global GDP went up by only 1.5 times. This is what resulted in the huge difference between the rich and the poor all over the world. It is true of India, it is true of China, it is true of America, more true of America, less probably true of Japan, because Japan had not gone into stock marketing in such a big way as other countries. In India, stock market has added value to the top 1% of the population, and so there is a huge divide between the rich and the poor in India. And another reason why there is growth in black money is because, as I told you, countries want more money, and this more money is almost borrowed money. The global debt in the year 2000 was $87 trillion from 1950s to 2000. In 2007, it became $142 trillion. That is what caused the crash. Doesn't go. The crash occurred because there was a debt. So we have to deleverage. Debt has to come down. Now what happens? In 2014, the debt goes up to $199 trillion. Now the latest estimate, which is published in Forbes magazine, ING report, is it is $230 trillion. So $142 trillion in 2007 caused the collapse of the global economy almost completely. It has become $230 trillion, which is over 300% of the global GDP. You know, this is a situation in which there can be an implosion or explosion. Fortunately, Indian position is quite different. Many people do not know. India is one of the most frugal countries in borrowing money, particularly abroad. Even within the country, our borrowings are very less. Our borrowing is about 55 lakh crores, out of which the internal borrowing is 50 lakh crores. We borrow more money from our own people. This is the case with Japan. Japan does not borrow $1 outside. All its borrowings are from within the country. And so there cannot be any global level crisis hitting Japan. In India also, global financial crisis does not hit India. It does not just sweep India, it doesn't become contagion in India because we have not borrowed money from outside India so much. And our GDP to the public debt within India is about 40-42%. Our global debt to GDP is very small. So, as compared to how the world operates and how India operates, in official economy we are very well protected, and so India will not be affected by global financial crisis. There will not be any contagion, but the problem of Indian black money moving out of India, the money generated moving out of India, is certainly affecting the growth story of India, and we have to put it in the context of where the world financial economy is going. The problem of 2008 was that people were borrowing not for putting up any business. People were not borrowing for creating assets. In America particularly, people were borrowing for spending. I'll give you a small example how the crisis came. If somebody purchased a house for $100,000 and the house value went up to $250,000, how the house value went up is also the government was interested in seeing that the house values go up. By cutting down the interest rate, the house values went up. When the house values went up, if my house I bought at $100,000, that I have to pay still. It is not I have put my own money and bought the house. On that I have a due of $90,000. Now the house value has gone up to $250,000. The American bankers began telling this $160,000, which is over and above your debt on the house in terms of the market value, is your ATM. You can borrow money against it. They lent almost $4 trillion against this in order to sustain the American economy, and bunched together all the mortgage documents by a consolidated debt obligations and sold it all over the world, brought the money, and the American economy collapsed, and this $4 trillion most of the banks in the world had to write off. The ICICI Bank wrote off $215 million in India. So, that crisis is likely to be repeated now. How? The total financial assets in the year 2010 was $600 trillion. It is likely to go up to $900 trillion in the year 2020. It is not going to reduce. The derivatives, which are merely speculative, they were $81 trillion in 1991, $100 trillion in 2000, $700 trillion in 2008. Now it is supposed to be $1.2 trillion. This is supposed to be the dynamite ticking under the world economy. Why I am mentioning all this is that you can never separate these economic aspects from the fight against black money. Today, we had a discussion at some level with people associated with the government on fighting black money. One of the important developments that have taken place from 2004 to now is the role of the 500 rupee notes and 1000 rupee notes in the economy. The share of 500 rupee and 1000 rupee notes in the year 2004 was 30% of the total currency. The total amount of 500 rupee notes and 1000 rupee notes in the total currency in circulation was about 30% in the year 2004. It is 87% today. It is a naked thing that this is what creates, sustains and delivers black money in India. The government is faced with a challenge. You stop this, you can certainly stop black money. But that will also shut down the economy. So it has to be done very gradually. You cannot do it overnight. You know pretty well. If you stop 1000 rupee notes and 500 rupee notes in circulation, this will put an end to 75-80% of the black money transactions. To today you can deliver 1 crore in a small briefcase. There was an allegation against Narasimha Rao in the year 1993 or so that he accepted 1 crore. Ram Jethmalani was the man who held a press conference. He had such a huge suitcase in which they were putting 100 rupee notes to say how in that suitcase 1 crore could be delivered. So a question arose, somebody took a suitcase and delivered it to Narasimha Rao. Then the question arose, how could 1 crore be put into a suitcase? So Ram Jethmalani held a press conference and then they were inserting 100 rupees with great difficulty, they locked it and then it could not be lifted because it was a huge volume. Now 1000 rupee notes makes it very easy. You can just like that lift it. Even a child can lift it. So black money has become very easy. You know this is the cause of the black money generation and delivery. But if you stop it, there will be a huge shift to the economy. It will affect the growth. So black money is also helping growth. You must understand the dimensions of black money. And so the government is in a fix, of course. Obviously they will come out with something very innovative, I am very sure. But the fact is that black money has got inextricably mixed with the rest of the economy in India. All over the world it is officially, openly linked. In India it is surreptitiously linked. And without understanding the link between black money and the general growth in the economy, stock market, real estate market, general rise in asset values, you will never be able to isolate black money and fight it. So there has to be a soft landing from black money. You can fight black money abroad without affecting local economy. You cannot fight local black money without affecting local economy. This is an issue which we have to consider in two different parts. The local black money actually does not affect growth because it is still capital employed in India. The only thing is it evades tax. It may be used for a wrong purpose. It can go for ostentatious consumption. Because of that, the economic growth may be distorted. All this is true. But the fact is it is remaining in India, getting employed in India, producing goods in India, employment in India, transacting business in India. So to touch the local black money, it requires much greater planning, strategic planning. But to hit the black money abroad, it will only add to the country's economy. But there you have the global problem of fighting with countries which are interested in keeping the black money which is generated from India, like America, which has about $4 trillion of other countries' money into America. If that $4 trillion gets exposed and this money has to go back to the respective countries, American economy will suffer. And so this contradiction between the two countries which receive and enjoy the black money and the country which have lost their capital and trying to recover the money, this is a problem at the global level. See, I will just read out the list of countries in which cash black money is deposited. US $2.9 trillion, 1.74, 2.23, it adds up to almost $6.67 trillion. This is accounted between UK and US. Luxembourg, $590 billion, Germany $580 billion, Jersey $510 billion, Netherlands $44 billion, Ireland $31 billion, Switzerland $31 billion. It's one of the lowest jurisdictions actually today. And Hong Kong, $33 billion. The total is $12 trillion. If any of these countries loses control over this money, the economy of this country is going to be affected. Why will they allow it? This was the challenge before the G20 nations. and how they are handling it and what legal mechanism they are instituting to handle this and what are all the challenges that they are facing, but how the whole world is now moving towards cooperating to support the efforts to unearth black money. This movement is irresistible. It can be delayed, but it cannot be denied. Every country has to move towards it, and so this important development is taking place. Now I will come to some specific issues concerning India. Before that, I will read out some of the information which is available in the public domain about how published information is there about big political leaders. They are called politically exposed persons, and how they have, what kind of money they are supposed to be having. I don't know whether any of you have had occasion to look at this list. This is Global for Financial Integrity website. They said Muhammad Suharto of Indonesia has 25 billion Swiss francs stashed away in Switzerland. Mobutu, $6 billion. And then, King Abdullah, Saudi Arabia, $21 billion. Sultan of Brunei, $20 billion. Michael Bloomberg, $18 billion. Sonia Gandhi, $19 billion. Emir, UAE, $18 billion. Vladimir Putin, $118 billion to $40 billion. Savitri Jindal, $13 billion. The list goes on. But more than these people being caught, the country in which the money is, that country is going to protect these people. Information is available and the mechanism for investigation is polluted. How it is polluted, I am going to tell you. I will take up one case that is known as the Hassan Ali case. This one case will establish how difficult it is to fight black money if there is a dishonest political leadership. No amount of law can cure the defect of a dishonest political leadership. I am going to explain to you the hair-raising facts of this case. You see, one Hassan Ali, he was found to have multiple passports by the Maharashtra police. If somebody is operating multiple passports, then the police, definitely there will be action. So the Maharashtra police shared information with the Income Tax Department. And the Income Tax Department raided Hassan Ali on the 7th of January 2007. And they found a document. UBS Bank, Zurich. And the document is addressed to Hassan Ali. Hassan Ali's name is there as the person to whom the document is addressed. And it gives this information: account number withheld, identification withheld, client details withheld, VAT registration 431,842. But the person to whom it is addressed is Hassan Ali. So it makes it obvious he is not the account holder, he is not the person identified, he is not the client, he is only a name. See what this UBS Limited hereby confirms. As per the discussions between Mr. Khan and the chairman's office today, UBS Limited agreed to do the following. The client can withdraw part of his assets associated with UBS Limited to the tune of 6 billion out of the total of 8 billion. The client is free to invest this as and when he chooses to do so. That means out of $8 billion, $6 billion he can withdraw immediately today. The balance of $2 billion will remain bound with UBS until 15th January, 8 days more. This document is seized by the Income Tax Department. Immediately the Income Tax Department is told, it is not your jurisdiction, hand it over to the Enforcement Department. The Enforcement Department is told how to handle it. I am going to tell you how it was handled. Hasan Ali, these are the list of dates which is important. This will give you an idea as to when you co-opt the administration to suppress a fraud, how you can't use that very department to unearth the fraud. Ali was arrested in the fake passport case and was granted by a Mumbai court on 2/1/2007. It is this case which led to the raid on Ali. Ali checks into the hospital for a heart attack and lung complaints immediately after the raid and remains in the hospital for 3 weeks. Nobody does anything. Ali is very happy. Ali is not traceable in Pune or Bombay police. He just disappears from the hospital. Suddenly, Inspector Crime Banu Pratap Badge in Pune says that following orders from the additional city police commissioner Rajinder Singh, he had served a notice under 161 of CRPC as a witness to the crime. He is the criminal. Witness to a crime at a discreet location in Pune. The man has gone and delivered the notice, but he says it is at a discreet location. He doesn't even say where Hasan Ali is. See the extent to which power protects criminals. Nothing happens for almost a year. This notice is served at a discreet location and these vital documents are seized. Immediately you should have contacted the Swiss authorities and locked up this fund. This is what happened in the case of Bofors. The moment the government got the information, a man was sent overnight by flight with an order from the magistrate's court here in Delhi, and the amount was locked immediately. So $8 billion could have been locked. Even if the fellow had gone and run away with $6 billion, $2 billion were bound to be there till 15th. Nothing happens. ED issued show-cause notice in December 2007. Then it was preparing to issue another notice in 2008. The government tells the Bombay High Court in 2008 in response to Ali's plea for return of seized passport that Ali was absconding and he left the country. If he left the country, the probe will collapse. See, he is filing an application for return of the passport and the government says don't return the passport to him. If he runs away, you cannot complete, the probe will collapse. Information comes to light in February 2008 that he and his wife had applied for Swiss citizenship. Maharashtra police raids Ali's residence and seizes his passports. Ali flees with his wife and son immediately and absconds again. He stays in Yusuf Laktawala's house in Mad Island. Then he stays in a bungalow in Lonavala from July to October 2008. Ali tells the Mumbai police that while he was absconding, he met Ahmed Patel, the political advisor to the Congress president, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Commissioner of Police, the Home Minister of Maharashtra at Centaur Hotel on 8/11/2008. This man is absconding, he is being tracked. $8 billion is the amount which he was supposed to be holding. Fake passports. If a man flies away, who is he sitting with? Ahmed Patel, political advisor to the Congress president, Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Commissioner of Police and Home Minister of Maharashtra in Centaur Hotel. You know why? That was the date on which Centaur Hotel was bought by the which group it is? Sahara Group, and the Sahara Group is opening that hotel. It is at that function all these fellows are meeting. The transcript of the video recording of this meeting was released to public by Ram Jethmalani. The Maharashtra police, one honest official, recorded the whole thing in audio, and the transcript of the audio was released by Ram Jethmalani. It's a long story. I will read out only what the press had said when Ram Jethmalani released. Ali surrenders thereafter, the Maharashtra police arrest him. And then the ED issues show-cause notice in December 2008. From January 2007, time has flown off. December 2008. Ali granted bail by the lower court. See, lower court are always very compassionate, and so they grant bail. The government appeals to High Court for cancellation of the bail. The Bombay High Court slams the Maharashtra police in February 2010 for not being interested in Ali's bail cancelled. See, he has been granted bail. Why don't you come and ask for a cancellation of the bail? Court tells the government. You can understand how, when the system is polluted, it is corrupted and eaten by moths from within, how it will help the criminals. And how it is even difficult to reopen the case today, which the government is trying to do, because it is the smoking gun. IT department sends in request asking for information from Swiss authorities on the ground that Ali has not filed income tax returns. You know, you can send request to the Swiss authorities that this fellow has kept money of people who are corrupt and he is keeping corrupt money. The Swiss government will cooperate. You send a request which is bound to be rejected, which is not a crime. See, there is something called mutuality of crime. The crime which you allege must be a crime in Switzerland also. Then only they will cooperate. Corruption is crime, murder is crime, drug is crime. These are all common crimes between Switzerland and India. But taxation was not a common crime till 2011. Then only it became a common crime. This is a request which we are making in 2010. So the government sends a request, he has not filed income tax return. The Swiss government said, what, we have nothing to do with it. They returned the request because we sent the request only to be rejected. Then news item appeared. The finance minister said, Switzerland has refused to cooperate. Then the matter is over. In 2010, the Swiss authorities refused assistance, saying non-filing of return is not an offence under Swiss law and therefore no assistance can be provided to Indian government. The whole thing had to be reopened by an order from the Supreme Court of India. It is the Supreme Court which made the government to investigate, arrest him, still he is in jail. He was granted bail, I think the bail was cancelled. Now I will tell you who this Hassan Ali is. Hassan Ali was introduced to UBS Bank to open an account in his name in Singapore by a person named Adnan Khashoggi. Have you ever heard of this name? Adnan Khashoggi is one of the most well-known arms dealers who was involved in the Bofors payoff. Adnan Khashoggi was the man who introduced Hassan Ali, it is all on record, to the UBS Bank in Switzerland. Now what he does, 1.5 million is deposited in that account. And then this 1982 amount becomes 969 millions in 1997. And in the year 2003, a peculiar entry appears in that account. 300 million funds from weapon sale. Funds from weapon sale is crime money. So the Switzerland government froze this account. All these are on record. And when the UBS was asked, they said, we would prefer not to talk about it. This is what the UBS official said. I'll just read out that. What is the response from UBS to this funds from weapon sale? I would prefer not to talk about this, said the UBS India Managing Director and Chairperson Manish Girotra, referring all questions to bank spokespersons. As a truly global entity, our policy on such issues is to comply with the laws and regulations in each host country, while at the same time complying with the Swiss laws. We won't talk about this. You know, shamelessly, the very same UBS sends a letter to the government of India that this entire account is fake. So the UBS was barred from doing business in India. In 2014, the government of India granted license to the UBS again to operate in this country. Income tax department at the highest level, enforcement department at the highest level have been involved in this. Now I can tell you, this entire case is being reopened and you will see something shocking happens in the next 3-4 months. But it is difficult to open because the hierarchy is involved in this. Those who have worked to suppress this have to be one by one removed. A new set of officers have to come and you have to do it according to the rules. You cannot just say these 16 officers will not function from tomorrow onward, then the department itself won't function. So one by one you have to say this fellow is rascal number 1, this fellow is rascal number 2, this fellow is rascal number 3. You have got to order their level of compliance with these crooks and then one by one remove them and then bring in new set of officers and then catch one case. You know, if $8 billion had been unearthed by India, you know what will be the prestige of India in the world? 2 messages are delivered. One, we want to pursue black money and we have enough legal mechanism to pursue black money. And 3, we have an administrative efficiency and honesty to do it. This is what other countries do. Countries which have such leadership do. But in India, there has been a complete failure in doing this. Asanali case is the smoking gun. And Asanali has been a friend, has been a partner of another person and his name is Tapuria. And Tapuria said, I'm going to read out his statement to you, why this whole thing was done. Now I will read out Ram Jetmalani's press conference. Question was asked, who are all there in that meeting? I do not care who participated. What worries me is the presence of Mr. Ahmed Patel. What legitimate reason can Patel have to have a meeting with Asanali? He has to explain. Why should I explain? This is what Ram Jetmalani asked after releasing the cassette. Besides referring to the press conference, Nagaland Post also, because he gave the interview at Nagaland, responses from those against whom the allegations were made best. The senior lawyer also alleged that Ali was present at the meeting when the appointment of Hassan Ghaffur as Mumbai Police Commissioner was being discussed. So who should be the next police commissioner is also discussed with Hassan Ali. What more alarming and shocking is that? What is more alarming is that Ahmed Patel, the political secretary to Sonia Gandhi, was also present at this meeting, and in this meeting Hassan Ali himself was confessed to this meeting. What was he doing there? Jetmalani asked. What legitimate reason can be there for mixing with Hassan Ali? You can understand the nexus between the powerful and the crime. If black money is not being pursued, it is not because you don't have laws. You have laws. You have a crowd at the global level. You could take on very powerful institutions. In fact, the speech of the Prime Minister in the G20 meeting last time has put the entire G20 to shame. There are countries which are enjoying black money, he said. Yesterday he has said the United Nations is almost an important institution. We have the clout to say this today. 10 years before you didn't have the clout. You have the political clout, you have the national will, you have the laws, but you don't have the administrative machinery which will deliver success. This is the catch here. And I will read out what Tapuria said, and that will put an end to the discourse on Ahmed Patel. One more thing. You all heard Gopal Subramaniam, no? He spoke for 3 hours. and he kept you busy for 3 hours listening to him. That is the most important thing. He was the one who represented SNL's case before the Supreme Court. He told the Supreme Court.
We gave both sides.
No, what he told the Supreme Court, he wrote to the Supreme Court a letter. Hasan Ali, the absconding businessman, could be charged under various national security laws. It is not merely money laundering. A top official involved in investigating agencies told the ET on condition of anonymity. Solicitor General Gopal Subramaniam, in a confidential letter to the Finance Minister Pranab Mukherjee, emphasized that the matter of Hasan Ali be examined from the point of view of national security. In fact, he wrote this letter on his own, he told me. He didn't even consult the government. Subramaniam gave opinion with regard to the writ petition filed in the Supreme Court 2009. The investigators had seized the notarized affidavit signed by Hasan Ali with reference to the financial transactions related to overseas. Why I mention this case in some detail, there are other cases also. But the recent and almost an ongoing case, because this government has taken up the work of reinvestigating this case. So fight against black money is political, global, legal and administrative. Without co-opting the administration, you cannot probe into black money. And once these proofs come, it is the very administration which is co-opted to suppress the discovery of black money. So you require a very strong and powerful political leadership to pursue this. Now, what has been done at the global level in pursuing black money? Now, in the last few since about October, first creating a global level movement against black money. And I can tell you this is happening all over the world. Even in America it is happening. Not because the American system wants it, but the American people want it. Because it is creating a huge division between the rich and the poor even in America. So the people want, and it is becoming a political issue. In 2014, as I told you, Germany, France, Switzerland, Singapore, British Virgin Islands and India formed a team. This is the first major effort, global level effort by India, and this happened in October 2014. In November 2014, the PM took up black money issue in the G20 meet as a priority. He said, keep aside everything else, focus on black money. In 2015, we get results. If we had not done that, this result we would not have got. To prevent ongoing creation of black money, this is called BEP treaty, base erosion and profit shifting. This happens, people shift the profits from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction where there is either no tax or less tax. This is called base erosion and profit shifting. India promotes this project, and there are 4 areas which are important. Shifting profits by transfer pricing. You sell to a company your products at a cheaper price, where the profits are taxed at a lesser rate. So you transfer the profit by reducing the price. This is called transfer pricing. Second is non-taxation of the digital economy in the country of source. Where this information originates is not being taxed. Third, tax treaty shopping. If you have an agreement with Mauritius and there is nil taxation in Mauritius, A country which invests in India will not invest in India directly, it will go via Mauritius to avoid the Indian taxation. In the process, it is not avoidance of double taxation. It is avoidance of double non-taxation. In both areas you are not taxed. So these are all issues which each country was adopting to create a tax haven for itself. India has created a tax haven in Mauritius because you are in competition with everybody for global black money. So you also created a secret jurisdiction. Our tax haven is Mauritius. So every country is operating through tax havens and everybody is poaching on other countries black money. So this, unless you give up this, it will not be able to create a global level legal, financial, political, administrative architecture for fighting black money. And so this BEP procedure is the first major effort which has been taken by the OECD countries of which India is a part. This effort has to be supplemented by local efforts. So that is why the black money law was passed today. Now, this black money law says if an Indian holds assets abroad, it can be seized. But it has no meaning. The law says it can be seized, that it is amounting to money laundering, that it is amounting to tax evasion, your law says so. But you have to act on it. There are two ways in which to act. Act in individual cases. For example, this Hassan Ali case and a few other cases, because they are political, I am not mentioning the names. I also know of the ongoing investigation and another case which ought not to be revealed. But there is a definite move against select and identified individuals who have stashed away money abroad. And you may be having the Indian Express in Bombay is going to carry about 120 companies on the 4th. The names will appear of Indian corporates who have opened the companies abroad and stashed away black money. That list is likely to come on the 4th of this month, in 3 days. So there is a consortium of journalists working all over the world to unearth these things, and this is going to be carried in about 40 countries in the world. And I am told Nawaz Sharif's name is also there as one of the persons who has stashed away money by one of these tax havens. So this, fortunately, I was told there is no, or unfortunately, there is no Indian political name in this list as yet. So you have got to go after known people who stash away money abroad. That is only possible through very strong political leadership. Fortunately, this government is keen to do it. Second is track 2. Spy action is needed. You know, Germany bribed a bank official in Liechtenstein and got the secret records of Liechtenstein Bank and published it, and then recovered some 800 million Deutschmark as taxes from people who from Germany had stashed away money in Liechtenstein Bank. This is the track 2 operation, and the government of India has to do track 2 operation. You have got to go and pry open the secret through diplomacy, through intelligence gathering, through bribing. Vishasya Visham Aushatam. There is no other alternative. This is the second model. The third model, which is bound to come because this has to become a global effort, one country alone cannot do it. A law must be passed by the government of India that all Indian passport holders or who were Indian passport holders, whichever bank is keeping money on their behalf or whichever fiduciary is keeping their name as the beneficiaries in their documents, must declare that, and the government of India will be the trustee of those funds or assets. If you declare, if the government passes this law and ask all these banks and secret jurisdictions, we have passed this law, you have got to cooperate with us. They will not be able to deny cooperation because it will be a global effort. And if they declare, for example, I hold money abroad, $1 million, and my name is disclosed to the government of India. The government of India will not immediately take that money. They will say, we are the trustee of this money. Please tell us how did you get the money. If you don't give proper explanation, we will appropriate the money. This will be a legal procedure because you cannot appropriate money at the global level without complying with what the world regards as fair norms. Thus will be the ultimate step the government should be taking. But it is not possible for one government to do it. You have to get some 20 governments to do it. Fortunately, 10 years back, 15 years back, you could not even think of it. Today it is not only possible to think, it is also possible to find partners who will do it. So according to me, the fight against black money is multidimensional, and there is a certain atmosphere in the country against black money, which is very important. If the people come to terms with black money, no government can fight it. But there are political adversaries who would like to stop it because a lot of political interests are involved in ensuring the truth doesn't come out. That will always be there in any country. It is not only in India, but in India it will be perhaps more because one party has ruled this country for such a long time, and so their vested interest will be more. So the answer to it, somebody asked me how to stop the generation of political black money. I said, don't allow a party to rule for more than 10 years at a time because they will develop vested interest. So before they could make big black money, remove them from power and bring the other party into power. And before that other party makes a lot of big money, remove them and put the new person in power. So actually by shifting people in power only, you can prevent large political black money being created. It requires an awareness. It's a tough subject. It involves economics, it involves accounts, it involves banking, it involves regulation, it involves politics. But unless there is a small section of the people, the watchdogs, the sentinels, who are interested in the country, who are interested in some basic probity, value system, honesty, integrity, which will be largely prevalent only when we are youthful. It is this section which must become more and more aware of it. From today onwards, you must spend some half an hour in googling black money, secret jurisdiction, all of this you must spend some half an hour on this every day. In the next 2 months, you will know about 50-60% of the information about it. I am appealing to all of you. So I am teaching in IIT. One of the subjects I am teaching them is, you should not be interested only in the subject in which you are put on the escalator for growth. That will make you very narrow. That will make you uninteresting to others. You must know diverse subjects so that you are interesting to others even in your subject. Otherwise you will be only talking about law, somebody will be talking only about income tax law, somebody will be talking about only about contractual law. It's all. I have seen senior counsels opening their case. One brilliant counsel opened the case in the Supreme Court. He said, "My Lord, I want to open this case with a reference to an event which happened in Mahabharata." He said, "Who is my client and who is on the other side? I want to say with reference to this. In Mahabharata there is an incident where Duryodhana and Yudhishthira go to Shri Krishna, and Shri Krishna gives them 2 contrary pursuits. He tells Yudhishthira, go and get the address, telephone number and email of one bad man. Email, telephone number, address. That is, he wants the identity. Get one bad man in the society. So he gives the contrary advice to Duryodhana. He says, get one good man's name, address, telephone number, email. They go throughout and search and come back in the evening tired. Duryodhana says, I could not find one good man. Yudhishthira says, I did not find one bad man. You know why? When Duryodhana saw one bad quality in a man, he concluded the man was bad. When Yudhishthira saw one good quality in a man, he concluded the man was not bad. So he said, I am appearing for a client who is like Yudhishthira. This is how he began the case. Then the judges got interested in it. Otherwise you are talking about law, section. Who is interested? You must know diverse subject even to present your subject. This multidisciplinary approach is very, very important, mostly for lawyers. A scientist need not do that. A lawyer has to do that. A chartered accountant has to do that. An economist has to do that. An economist must know sociology. But most economists know only mathematics. That is why they are so dry. They are so uninteresting. But you must know wide variety of subjects. Today the knowledge, you need not have to seek knowledge. The knowledge comes and presents before you in the computer screen. So my appeal to you would be, take this subject as the entry point for you to become multidisciplinary in your approach. This will open you up. This will open you to law, this will open you to economics, this will open you to competition, this will open you to finance also. So my appeal is, don't look at it as a subject. Look at it as something in which larger public interest is involved, including our own interest. And all of you must also take a vow to avoid black money in your life. This I keep saying because this I practice. It's very difficult, it's not easy. And being a chartered accountant, to avoid black money is easy. A lawyer may find it even more difficult because he gets only clients who are not taxpayers. At least the chartered accountants are in contact with people who are taxpayers. The lawyers are serving people who are not taxpayers at all. So it is very difficult for the lawyers to practice not accepting black money. But the discipline that regulated my entire life. Because of that, my clients began respecting me. The system began respecting me. Public officials began respecting me. Because you are all going to be professionals. This is the request I want to make to all of you. Thank you very much.
Well, I must confess that I'm mind-boggled, sir. Not just by the gravity of the issues that has been spoken on, but also by the brilliance and the passion with which you've delivered them. We can have a quick Q&A session with at the max 2 to 3 questions. So, and we would also like to spread the questions if any. Takers? Yes, please. The mic volunteers? The others, please raise your hand so that we can keep it on track.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my question is from you, sir. Please.
Name and name of the institution.
My name is Yash Varmani. I am from Campus Law Center, Delhi University. Sir, pardon my very tiny knowledge about the subject, but sir, the effort of this Indian government that they have introduced one income tax return that you disclose your stashed black money, pay 60% tax, and we won't charge you with criminal proceedings. Sir, how do you think that will help us to get the black money back? That's it.
See, I referred to this law. This law is necessary to pass the next law I mentioned to you. Without this law, without giving an opportunity for people to come clean, you cannot pass an expropriatory law. That is why.
Any other question? Yes, there. The others, please raise your hand so that we will know to whom.
Hello sir, I am from SASTRA University, third year BCom LLP. My name is Arvind Rajagopal.
My question is on the proposition that black money is nothing but a byproduct of corruption. So just as how we have dust proofing, fire proofing and waterproofing, is there something known as corruption proofing a system? Is that a possibility?
You can have no proof against corruption. You have to have contentment in life, which your education system does not teach. Actually, if at all the education system makes you more greedy. This value education, which used to be very core of the Indian activity, in fact, one of the things I wanted to mention, I didn't have really the time to mention, I want to tell you, our society is not a corrupt society. I'll give you two examples. You must have heard about one test, lost wallet test. Have you heard about it? Lost wallet test. You Google, you will find out. Where, in about 108 countries, they tested the honesty of the people. In India, they chose about 7-8 towns and cities. They used to keep 20,000, 30,000 in a wallet, and there will be their identity in the form of a visiting card. And they throw it in open trains, they throw it in parks, buses, and find out how many people go and return it to the true owner. I'll tell you what is the position of India in it. 67% was the return in America, 67% in England, 65% in India. India is a poor country. 64% in Canada, less. 60% in France. You will be surprised that countries like Italy, 35%, Switzerland, 35%, China, 30%, Mexico, 21%. You will find many, Netherlands, 60%, Thailand, 55%, Belgium, 50%, Malaysia, 50%, Germany, surprisingly, 45%. Our society is not a corrupt society. I will give you examples, because we must also know we keep on abusing India. It's not correct. There are cases where, because I just Googled and found out, honest auto driver returns gold and sari in Bombay. Honest auto driver returns 5 lakhs. Honest auto driver returns new laptop. Honest auto driver returns wallet consisting of this gold, laptops, cell phone, 1 lakh 50 grams of gold, phone returned, credit cards and valuables returned. 400 honest auto men celebrated in Bombay, and then 4 lakh returned in Bombay. Auto driver Ramaswamy with 1 kg returned, 3 lakh jewelry returned. I'll tell you, personally we handled one case. An auto driver went to the commissioner's office with 5 lakhs cash. He handed over the cash to the commissioner saying that some fellow, I dropped him in Pandian Express, he was going, I found this is there. Now it is your duty to search and hand it over to him. When the news item came, we went and met the auto driver in his house. He was just living in a 1-room apartment. He has 3 girls. And that 5 lakhs is so important for the man. And of course the commissioner found out, and there was a photograph which appeared. He said, sir, this is not the first time I have done this, has happened several times. But because I handed it over to the police people, it has become a photograph for me. He said, what do you want? He said, we don't want anything, sir. If you want to get a job for my daughter, that's all. You know what we did? In the Vivekananda Educational Society school, on the 26th of January the next year, we asked him to hoist the national flag. He didn't speak one word. We all spoke about him so that the students know. It is such auto drivers, it is such taxi drivers, it is such cleaners. You know, one case, it's an amazing case of someone who sweeps the trains. He found a huge bag and he opened the bag, it was full of cash. He didn't even know what it was. So he quietly brought it home and there were some visiting cards which were in English. And he asked his son to find out from neighbor and get it translated in Marathi, and went and delivered the cash in that person's house. This came in newspaper. You see, this 31 lakhs could have been his money. Nobody, there was not even a trace. It was in a railway compartment. Don't decry the Indian society as a dishonest society. We must have a measurement of our society. So we must understand that the interpersonal dealings in the society is the most honest in this country. In fact, in black money, even greater honesty is needed because it is an unrecorded transaction. So, we should not decry the society, even as we decry the political system or administrative system. And I can tell you, the largest amount of dishonesty in this country is committed by educated people.
We both are profession. We have been advising
how to prevent black money. I had occasions to advise how to save black money in the course of the profession. In your long journey to this contribution through media, print media, do you think how far you have been successful in fighting and erasing black money from this country? In my opinion, I tell you, as far as politics of power remains, black money will remain. What's your opinion on this?
See, I never hold the view you can eliminate black money. You can bring down black money. That is possible. If you have at higher levels people who are honest and determined to fight. The entire income tax department is so corrupt today. In 1980s it was not so. In 1983 I gave up my tax practice precisely because at that time corruption had entered the income tax department. Till then I have never seen lady income tax officers taking money. Lady income tax officers take money today. They demand and take money. So you can understand, generally a lady will be very, very averse to doing all this. The income tax department can convert even ladies. So, when greed is celebrated, it happens like that. It's not that I have done a great thing by quitting tax practice. I only escaped a very risky place because I don't want my clients affected because I maintain some standards. My client is in difficulty tomorrow. I said, Baba, you do whatever you want to do. But the fact is, it can definitely be reduced. See what Xi did, the Chinese president. He arrested 3,000 people for corruption. It had a wide-ranging effect. Of course, it is affecting him also. But he could do it because it is a dictatorship. In India, it is not possible to just arrest a person on a charge made. There has to be some basic investigation and all that. So, there can be fight against black money. There can be reduction in black money. There cannot be elimination of black money. This much I agree with you.
We will have one last question from the participant. Yes, please. You.
Sir, Master Akash Pura from National University of Advanced Legal Studies, Cochin. My question is with respect to, so in the past also we had like income declaration scheme as we have like in this year, but these income declaration schemes did not have any penal provisions. So don't you think like just introducing an income declaration scheme without any penal provisions is just like telling the taxpayer you don't pay tax for 10 years, you enjoy the capital,
We introduce income declaration scheme, you pay a bit of higher tax and you get away. How is that fair for people who actually like pay regular taxes and all?
See, I am not one of those who approve of these amnesty schemes. But there is one justification for amnesty scheme. Because in India, millions of new entrepreneurs are coming. And for most of those entrepreneurs, there is no financial assistance provided by banks. For example, according to the National Economic Survey 2014-15, we have about 58 million micro units, which provide 128 million jobs in India. And the capital employed in their business is about 12 lakh crores. Only 4% is supplied by banks. The balance 96% is borrowed from at usurious rates, 30%, 60%, 90%, 120%. You know, these people have to really work hard to build their capital. And if the income tax man goes and says, come on, you pay 30%, these people cannot do anything. So initially, most of these people, till they can do something explicitly, buy a house or buy a car, they do conceal their income. So in my view, a periodic amnesty scheme for people who are in business for less than 10 years is needed. It is not for all. Now it is for all. Those who have been in business or profession for less than 10 years, they should have an amnesty scheme every 10 years is my view. It is because the system doesn't provide money for them. For example, you want to start a business as a lawyer. No bank is coming forward to give you a loan of 50 lakh crores. So initially, most of the people take money in cash, try to plan their affairs, consult a chartered accountant how to do it. These are normal. Because this is a capital building exercise. But an overall amnesty scheme is not advisable. Because everyone will get an opportunity every 10 years. You must get only once in a lifetime, that is within 10 years of starting your business. You must have an opportunity to declare once. Because we are producing millions of entrepreneurs. In fact, the entrepreneurial strength in India is supposed to be over 400 million. It is probably one of the richest entrepreneurial nations in the world. But there is no commensurate capital supply in terms of debt or equity. So naturally, this is the only way they can grow. So we should not mistake this, but we should want an amendment to the scheme.
Good evening, sir. Sir, you spoke about the difficulties that happen, or we spoke about the corruption or the stashing away of black money by the higher echelons of the society in foreign locations. So, from the limited reading that I have had, that only 3% or 4% of Indians pay their income tax yearly, Your Lordship. Pay their income tax, only 3%. So, is it not a more achievable goal to first make these 3%, the rest of the country pay their at least income tax? It's only people who get their income at the end of the year after deduction of TDS that actually pay their income tax diligently.
What's your name and institution?
Sneha Ghosh from Symbiosis Law School, Pune.
See, if you look at the per capita income of India, it's about 28,000 today. 28,000 means high and low, average it is 28,000. In which people who earn less than 28,000 will be almost 90% of the population. So, they can never be taxed because our income tax basic exemption rate is more than the maximum they earn. So, unless the per capita income of India goes up very substantially, taxpayers' numbers will not increase unless you bring down the average basic exemption, which is also not possible. One more reason why in India income tax has not become very popular is because nobody's income in India belongs to himself. or herself. Everybody has near and dear whom they have to help. It may be father, mother, brother, sister. Nobody lives for himself in this country. This is the most important thing. In America, no father will help a son beyond his schooling. Afterwards, he will ask him to get out of the house. He will not educate him. He will not maintain his father. Nobody will care for the brother. Nobody will educate a sister. So there, payment of tax is conditional on citizenship because the country takes care of the people whom the family doesn't take care of. All the families are nationalized. So there is no family responsibility for anyone. You know, I have seen in my own life, people from my village will come. Say, my daughter is getting married, Guru, you have to help me. I cannot say no. In America, nobody is going to trouble you like that. So there is a social sharing, cultural sharing in this country. And that is why if you pay the tax, where will you share? How will you take care of your parents? So, income tax is not very popular, and at some levels there is a justifiable concealment of tax, concealment of income, justifiable. Because otherwise who will do all this? So we must understand there are cultural elements. Many people say, see in America, 60% are taxpayers. In America, government takes care of all of them. Are we going to do it? Any government which attempts to do it will become insolvent. American government is itself becoming insolvent because the present value of future social security is $104 trillion, health and social security put together. America is really, it is a dynamite which can blow up the economy because it has taken over personal responsibilities of people. I always used to say, families are privatized, government is nationalized, government is privatized. Water supply, bridges, roads, railways, these are being privatized. Taking care of parents, elders, taking care of infirm people, unemployed people, this is nationalized. This is perverse economics. So don't compare those countries' statistics with our country. So this requires an inter-civilizational, inter-territorial comparison. Then only we can. Otherwise, most of these media people write such superficial stories. We should not go by that. Yes.
Sir, an ordinary government official, when he gets a bribe of few hundred, he is declared some immortal service. Whereas a political man who holds big office is not taken, action is not being taken at all against him. What is remedial measure?
I wrote an article on Nani. The BSNL mentioned that the loss is only about 1.7 crores or something like that. Just laying the lines, he had some 200 and 300 lines secretly installed in his house, high-speed telephone lines, and the BSNL laid the underlying cable to connect it, for which they had to spend about 170 lakhs. So the Supreme Court said only 170 lakhs he can pay that amount. Just exactly 6 months back, the Supreme Court convicted a person for taking a bribe of 280 rupees. So the judiciary also looks at the poor man in the way Srimad Bhagavatam says, courts will look at the poor man. In Srimad Bhagavatam there is a chapter, you go and read it today, you can Google and read it. How the judiciary will be in Kali Yuga. The judiciary in Kali Yuga will look at a poor man and presume his guilt. It will look at a rich man and will think he has no guilt. So you can see in Dayanidhi Maran's case, the Supreme Court said 170 lakh, 1.7 crores he can pay. And this man took a bribe of 280 and the man was arrested. And he served a sentence of 3 years for that. And the Supreme Court said he has served a sentence for 3 years, I will, no more sentence. But increase his fine to 50,000. And the fellow is retired, he is living on his son's money and he has to pay a fine of 50,000. There is a division bench judgment of the Supreme Court. So, in all this, unless there is very strong public opinion, even the Supreme Court is going to be like this only. Very slipshod, superficial, unintelligent, illiterate judgments approach the highest judiciary. And not many people have the guts to say this.
We now conclude the question and answer session.
You are saying it is the last. Is everybody agree?
Akash Mansur from Campus Law Center, Delhi University. So my question is that in your lecture you talked about curbing corruption and black money in political arena. We should have a new group of leaders every 10 years. So my question is the solution practical? Since we are a democratically elected country, how is it possible to have a new group of leaders every 10 years where politics is seen as a career spanning multiple decades, sir?
I am not talking about new group of leaders, a new party in power. You elect the opposition after 10 years. This is my view. Defeat the BJP after 10 years. After 10 years, defeat the Congress and bring the BJP. This is my advice.
So still but the same group of people will come because their ideology won't change, sir.
Generation will change.
Thank you.
We now conclude the question and answer session. I now call upon Arun S, co-convener of the 12th Nani Palkhivala Tax Moot Court competition to present the vote of thanks.
My humble pranam to one and all present here. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others, elucidated the Roman philosopher Marcus Tullius Cicero. I, Arun S. of School of Law, SASTRA University, feel humbled for the privilege vested upon me for having been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this momentous occasion. First of all, I thank the God Almighty for the showers of blessings due to which this day has arrived at a flawless completion. I must admit that I stand guilty of linguistic shortcoming when I attempt to deliver words of gratitude thanking our venerable guest of honor who is a master of multiple dimensions. A persona that he is who stands tall as a bridge between educated, corrupt lord and the uncorrupt, uneducated people because he is a rare combination of profoundly educated and at the same time purely uncorrupted. A profound thought leader as he is, Shri Gurumurthy extends his expertise to a plethora of intangible social elements. Being a distinguished scholar in the domain of anthropology, he illuminates various nooks and corners of socio-economic challenges in the light of legality. This ceaseless crusader of black money, due to his purity and ethics towards the profession, has managed to convert the loopholes such as legal provisions and political influences through which the black money flow is channelized into sharp weapons against the black economy by exposing the mutuality of corruption. Sir mentioned that the political silence of India in the recent past was eloquent enough to make a global impact. Today, sir, I can pronounce with conviction that your eloquence has shattered the veil of silence covering the legonomics of black money as the seeds of your words are sown here amidst the field of versatile social elements at this varied and profound juncture. I convey our deep sense of gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor R. Sethuraman, who despite his busy schedule never once failed to bless all of us with his esteemed presence and guide us as a living source of inspiration. I convey our gratitude to respected Dr. S. Vaidya-Subramaniam, Dean of Planning and Development. I also extend my deep sense of gratitude to our Registrar, Professor G. Balachandran, and I wholeheartedly thank our beloved Head of the Department, Dr. P. Ravishankar. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to all the dignified institutions that have made themselves an integral part of this enigmatic convention. I especially thank Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan firm for drafting such a profound and challenging moot proposition. I extend my warm gratitude to the event sponsors C. Sitaraman & Co., EBSCO host, Higginbotham's and Springer Publisher Services. I thank the knowledge sponsors of this event, CTC Publications, the sponsor of online resources, Taxman, and all the members representing various press and media present here. And I sincerely thank all the special invitees from significantly different dimensions of the society for honoring our request and having added their esteemed presence to the prestigious decorum of this occasion. I express my delighted gratitude to all the participants from various institutions who clearly stand as the cream of lawyers to be, having proven themselves by acing this moot proposition. It is my duty-bound pleasure to thank all the teaching and non-teaching faculty members of this institution for their priceless contribution and all the students for their matchless efforts as organizers and volunteers. Once again, I thank you all on behalf of the entire fraternity of SASTRA family and wish you all an intellectual, enriching experience. Thank you.
I request everyone to rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल झलति तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभाशिष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे